All right, welcome back, everyone. This is, I don't know, what is this, like I think, sixth or seventh episode we've done this year? I don't remember. It's one of those, but thanks for everyone for tuning in today. This will be a more of a different topic. This won't be that as much cyber related or technology related. This will be more financial related. So if you're here, we appreciate you. Me, MarKeisha, and Paul always get a lot of questions, especially MarKeisha on Twitter, about like how to save money, how to invest. So we want to kind of break it down for you guys so I can get a better sense as to like what to expect, best practices for that, so you guys can live a better life overall. So I'm gonna drop an article link if you guys are curious as to what I'm pulling from. It will be this. It is called. Let me drop it. Well, they're called Money Guys. They're a really big YouTube platform. They're both, I think, certified public accountants, and they have their thing called the Financial Order of Operations. I will be covering for most of today. Like any questions or concerns you have, just drop your questions inside of the chat so we're able to answer them. But for like the first 20 minutes, we'll do more of this overview of us and like things we've done that have been good and bad with money. So you can get a better sense as like pitfalls to avoid. I'll actually, MarKeisha, I'll have you go first. So what's I guess a quick question, like what's been the worst financial decisions you've made so far in your career? Since
The
you've been
worst?
yeah.
I'd probably say one of the worst financial decisions I've made is probably just kind of making more money and then not living below the means of making that money, right? So I should have lived off of only less than half of what I was making at that time.
So you're saying you had a lot of lifestyle creep?
Yeah. I feel like I've always had lifestyle creep though.
Okay. We'll go back towards that.
Okay.
But for you, Paul.
You know, just to take up to a high level, I went through an IPO with a company and we had a set schedule by which our options vested. And I fell into the trap of basically spending the next quarter's vesting before it hit with the mentality of, you know what, I will just true up when I exercise this next set of options and everything will be fine. Well, nothing lasts forever. And one day that next set of options didn't come. And then I spent the next decade trying to clean up the mess.
Okay. Yeah. For those who don't know, you can check on our LinkedIn profiles. Paul used to work at Splunk. That's the company he was mentioning. Splunk is a big data and security company based out of San Francisco. They're not owned by Cisco, by the way. Then I guess that leaves me. I honestly haven't made too many bad financial decisions in my life. I was I was very poor. I'm not poor. I'm broke in college. So whenever I got a lot of money, I made sure to never like blow it. The worst like financial decision I've ever made was probably. I'll probably say I bought like Air Jordans with my internship money when I was back in college. That was like probably the worst thing I've done. But no, like I bought a house or bought like a Lamborghini, nothing like that. That's not really my style. I think cause I made like that summer, I think like $3,000 from my internship, and I bought like $200 Jordans, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I wanted them, so I bought them. But because like all the members like, Kenneth, like how much are those shoes? I'm like $200, like $200, Kenneth. I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's a waste of money.
Well, how many
Um,
times did you wear those shoes?
I wear them like let's say once a week now. I still have them.
I don't
There,
know. I feel like that's a good investment in a sense.
for what it's worth, there are shoes out there that cost far, far more than that are designed to be worn once or twice. Part of me getting out over my skis of that was coming up with a six-figure closet of designer clothing that, well, quite frankly, I no longer wear. It went out of fashion really quickly, and yeah, that's not meant for the long haul. So you could do much worse with shoes, my friend.
That's true. I was actually going to wear my Balenciaga sweater on here, but I was like, you know what? No.
I think that's a little too on point.
Listen, but because it has Balenciaga all on it, I rarely get to wear it, which is the point proven that Paul was talking about, you know?
Yeah. So for you, Marquise, to go back towards you, or I guess, are you like more of a car person, a house person? Like, what are some certain things that you like, I guess, increased the quality of as you made more money?
Yeah, I mean, the type of vehicle that I drive and the home that I live in, like that's the most important to me. I feel like everything else can be, you know, pretty average or below those means, but I want to feel comfortable where I lay my head, and then also the vehicle that I'm driving.
Okay. Because the problem with that is those are the two most expensive things that take up most of our budget.
Oh man, my bad. I know it does, and that's something I'm dealing with right now. So
Yeah, it's like Ramit Sethi. I follow him on YouTube and Twitter as well. He talks about a lot about like having your rich life. So like, what are your money dials? Like things you want to turn up the spending on. So for most people, it's like food, travel, wellness. But he said it's like to caution that because he's like once you start to turn those up on it, it's hard to turn back down. So for example, if you're big, let's say like if yours and Paul's big thing was like to travel, right? Really high class travel. If you start making more money and then you always travel first class, it's very hard to go back to coach, right?
yeah,
So the minute you start to set that precedent, just make sure it's actually something you actually care about. It's very hard to go back to. For me, for example, I've been making six figures for the past 4 years now. But I still lived in my same original apartment when I moved here from Tampa to Dallas. Because I was very cognizant of the fact that like once I moved to a nicer place, it'll be very hard for me to move back towards like a cheaper place. Which is why I waited for 4 years for me to save up money. So like I have enough money towards if I lost my job, I got in a car accident, I couldn't work for like 2 years, I would be perfectly fine. I made sure I had that extra cushion and buffer, and then I felt comfortable to actually move towards a nicer place. It's like an extra 40% more than what I was spending at my old place, but I love it. I love it here. All right, it's really nice. There's like certain things like the audience, just be very mindful of that. You guys have to make more money, have a higher income. Just be very cognizant of the things you want to spend extra money on. It is very hard to go back. So if your thing is like food, then splurge on food, then cut out. If you don't really care like the car you drive, which I personally don't, then don't buy a Mercedes-Benz that costs $120,000, right? If that isn't like a part of your daily thing you love to do and it brings a lot of joy in your life. Just word towards the wise. I guess for you too, again, I'll go back to Paul. Other than that, Paul, has there been anything that you've spent a lot of money on that you regretted, that you thought initially was a good investment?
Mine was more of death by 1,000 cuts, lifestyle bloat and whatnot, just having stuff like that get away from me. So the regret would be living beyond that means. And to your point, it is hard to turn those dials back. And even once I started trying to get everything back together, it took a while, and it took several brushes with frankly being broke to be able to dial that back in. But it was a multi-year process to turn all of those different dials back down. So no one single purchase stands out as, oh, well, if I hadn't done this, then everything would have been fine. It was just kind of a collection of everything all at once.
Gotcha. Okay. So no, I know you're also a car person like MarKeisha. I know you have this version of that as well.
I could have, at one point, I could have walked in and written a check for a Lamborghini. I chose not. Now so if we want to talk about wise decisions, I made two very wise decisions that have served me very well since I made them. The first was the car that I bought. I am a car person. I can't live on less than 600 horsepower, but I chose to go with a Corvette instead of one of the higher end cars. So they're certainly not cheap. It holds value well. It does depreciate, but I feel like $1 million when I drive that car. I spend a lot of money in customizing it, and I take really, really good care of it. And I could be driving a Lamborghini and I drive it maybe once a month because of how expensive the maintenance is on it at this point, or I can enjoy my Corvette. So that was one that I chose. And the other is that I paid off my house when I was in California. I say my house, it was a condo. So it was under $500,000 at the time, which if you know Bay Area prices, that's not a flex. And, paying that off. And whenever I ran into trouble later, I was actually able to go back and remortgage that house and tap into some of the equity to help kind of smooth over the adjustment period on it. And then when I moved to Colorado, it was able to position me to buy the place that I had out here. So those are the two things that I did very, very well with it. The rest, I could have done better.
And then you, MarKeisha?
What was the question again?
What was something that you purchased in the past when you were living up that you thought was good in the moment, but in hindsight it wasn't?
I mean, if anything, I'd say, probably just the clothes, going back to what Paul said. I spent lots of money on designer clothes and for me, I have lots of clothes and I don't even wear all my clothes. And every time it's like an event, I feel like I have to go get new sets of clothes. So it was just a waste of money doing that. So that's probably, if I could go back, I definitely would not be spending, or if anything, I'd be more selective with my purchases, things that are very timeless.
Got you. So going towards Neiman Marcus a lot of the time just to get new clothes.
Yeah.
That Neiman Marcus was slumming it back then, man.
It was. I'm talking about Farfetch and Net-a-Porter and those stores, generally where I shop. If it's last minute and I need something to be shipped in or shipped overnight. There are some pieces that I have that I absolutely feel were worth it. But again, if I could go back, I would just think much far ahead in terms of, if I'm going to spend, I don't know, $1,500 on a sweater, it needs to be a sweater that I can that's timeless. You can pass down type of thing versus just trendy and in style at that moment.
I can't know for a sweater. I think the most expensive thing I own for clothes is my suit, which is $400. And I thought that was really expensive. It's from Men's Warehouse. I'm not actually, people say I dress really nicely, but I don't really spend that much money in clothes. I think everything I'm wearing is from Costco, honestly. I wear the same stuff over and over again because I don't want it to think in the morning. It wastes too much of my time.
Yep.
So I just wear black dry fit shirts. I work out all the time and shorts from Fabletics, and that's it. Every day.
And nothing's wrong with that, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever seen me wear anything other than what I'm wearing right now. Now, you didn't know me, 7 years ago, sure. But from the time you've known me, I know you have never seen me in anything other than this for that reason.
Yeah.
I feel like it's different for women. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of different for women. I feel like if we wear something and then wear the same thing again, somebody really notices it because women notice those things, not saying that matters, right? You shouldn't care what people think. I just think that, in the back of our heads, we're thinking about we need to be wearing X, Y, and Z at any given time because you just never know who's clocking, essentially. But.
Yeah, I think it's different for women. And women in general talk more about each other than guys do. You don't really care that much. So I do understand that. It was just what was it? I think I bought a bunch of clothes and I realized I wear the same stuff over and over again. Why am I spending all the money on extra clothes?
Exactly. That's what just yeah. Especially during the winter times, and working from home for the most part.
It's joggers. I'm I'm not.
Yeah, just throw it on. That's all I wear. That's why I say it's not really worth it in the end. But everybody has their thing. That's another thing too that I chat about a lot. Just like you asked the question, Kenneth. Everybody has their thing where they want to splurge, right? So some people want to splurge on shoes. Some people want to splurge on clothes, some on travel, some on their vehicle. some on their house, right? Everybody has their own thing. So I don't knock that, but I think it becomes more of a problem where when you're living above your means and it's kind of hard for you to keep up and you're not saving, because we all should be working towards retirement. One thing I'm always reminded of is you don't want to work the rest of your life, right? So how are you setting yourself up to be able to retire sooner rather than later? Because now people are retiring 65, 67.
Yeah, I think I don't know who said it, but I think I'm watching CNBC, and the lady said you can't value everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very specific at the things you actually want to splurge and spend extra money on, and the things you don't really care about, just cut those mercilessly as much as you can. It should be towards a point where you only work if you want to work at that point, right? If you're like in your 50s and you like love what you do, you still work, you just like love the work, then that's fine. But I don't want to be 70 years old and have to work because I don't have a choice. Like, I didn't save and invest when I was younger.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Lisa said, women are judged more. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes, please drop your questions in the chat. I didn't see any of these at all. I got too busy talking. Okay. So, yeah, those are a couple of things we've done that haven't been the wisest. I know Paul and MarKeisha have worse than me, but that's okay. Everyone's good in my book.
Keep in mind, I value my reputation, so there's a lot I spent money on that I'm not talking about here, and that just won't happen.
I don't have too many kills in the closet that relates to stuff like that, honestly.
Privacy.
A different time in my life.
Yeah. But next part I want to cover, and I think I dropped a link in the chat as well, is the financial order operations. It's on the Money Guy show. It's on YouTube. Again, they are, I think, financial planners. So the advice they give is kind of boring, which is good. It's very simple. It's very, very straightforward. And if you do it, you will probably end up being very wealthy over a long time horizon, which is what you want, right? So we're not going to talk about trading Bitcoin or trading crypto or doing drop shipping or doing LLMs. That's not what we're here for. So if you're expecting that, it probably isn't the channel for you, honestly. Just being completely honest with you. It's not the type of things I like to do.
Well, we're not looking at that $1 Dogecoin?
No. That's not the type of stuff we do.
That's something I regret, was buying Dogecoin at the peak of the hype, for what it's worth. There's something I regret, is throwing more money than I should have at a damn Shiba Inu coin that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Like investing more in crypto instead of less in crypto and more in the stocks. Like that's probably something I should have done.
And I know the fundamentals of that. I know that I was able to see it. It was an infinite supply. There was no supply constraint on it. It was artificially hyped. There was absolutely nothing that supported the valuation, but I was following Wall Street Bets on Reddit. I'm like, you know what? I want to jump on this train. Well, I did, and I rode it right through the crash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll happen. So I'll share my screen really quickly so you guys know what we're actually talking about here.
All right, I'm probably gonna click a button that's gonna log me out, but it's gonna log me back in. Okay.
Gotcha.
I need this. Okay.
Let's see here. Okay, again, this is a Money Guy one. So you guys want to follow it? The link is inside the chat. So there are 9 steps toward financial freedom, as I like to call it. First one is deductible and covered. Second one is employer match. Third one is high interest debt. Fourth one is emergency fund. Fifth one is a Roth IRA or health savings account. Sixth one is a max out employer plans. Seventh one is hyperaccumulation. Eighth one is prepay future expenses. And ninth one is prepay low interest debt. So these are the 9 stages of the financial order operations that you should follow, right? Now everyone's gonna have a different story and a different path for this. Some people may have a lot of debt, some people may not have a lot of debt. Some people may already have a house when they first find it. Some people may not have a house, right? So it's just going to depend. But the first thing they suggest for you, which I agree with, is for you to have your deductibles covered. Normally, what this means is like medical expenses, right? So if you get in a car accident or you get really sick, you should have enough money to pay off your deductibles, for whatever those are for your personal plans. But if you don't have it, then you get sick and something happens to you, you're kind of screwed. So that's the first thing that they suggest. And we'll cover the first three for the first 20 minutes here. Second one is employer match, meaning if you work for any large corporation, they should give you employer match. So if you work for like Bank of America, the employer match may be 6%. So that basically means if you make $100,000 and you invest a certain amount of money for it, they'll give you $6,000 based off of your paycheck for the total year cost, right? So if you invest $6,000, they'll give you $6,000 for it. That's basically what it means. And if they're wanting to pay off high interest debt, so we'll go with the first one, and I'll ask you guys questions about it. A deductible covered. So I guess does everyone here have like a medical plan or health insurance technically?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Was there ever at a point where you guys didn't have enough money to cover the certain deductibles for your health plan? Or was it always been covered by default?
I mean, I wouldn't say covered by default, but I mean, probably when I was making a significantly less amount of money, I was probably not trying to go to the doctors because my deductible was high.
There were a number of years that I worked for startups that didn't even offer health plans, so I had no coverage at all, and so my deductible was whatever I would have been charged. So there was a period of about 3 years that I just didn't ride my motorcycle because if I went down, I was financially ruined.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been times I haven't had health insurance either, and I just avoid it, or I'll pay out of pocket. Now I can afford to pay out of pocket, but again, back then I couldn't. So I just went without.
Well, a doctor's visit, I could absolutely have paid out of pocket, but an ER, x-ray, hospital stay, going down on a motorcycle, nah.
True.
Not in this country. We don't, there is no, for my European and around the world people that watch me, you don't have paid health insurance in this country for some odd reason. Even though we're the richest country in human existence. I don't understand why.
An uninsured motorcycle crash will cost you probably $25,000, $30,000 in medical bills, even if you're discharged that day.
Yeah, so it can be very, very pricey if you get hurt, something happens. So that's why they suggest you have enough money to cover those certain deductibles. Your deductible maybe $1,000, $2,000, just depends on what plan you have for it. The second one, which was employer match, which I don't understand why people. I don't think people understand the topic. This is free money. Your company will basically give you free money to invest if you get this match. So again, if your match is 6%, invest up to 6% of your paycheck for that yearly period to get that money, right? Because again, it is literally free money they're going to give you if you invest up towards that amount. If you're not sure if you have an employer match, you can talk towards your HR rep, or go on like Workday or whatever third-party site you use to manage your HR principles or stuff like that. But police is probably the easiest money you'll ever get in your life if you work for a large company. So definitely take advantage of it. I just take advantage of it. It's literally free money.
That's not just large companies. I've worked for 10-person organizations where they did some level of employer match as well. So always ask the question, whoever runs your payroll, if you're 10 people or 10,000 people, whoever runs your payroll, just ask them. The worst they can say is no. But if you don't ask, to Kenneth's point, you're leaving free money on the table. You use the example of $100,000, 6% is going to be $6,000, right? So you put in $6,000 of yours. You're not losing that. You're investing it. But your salary is tantamount to $106,000. That's a 6% raise just by you taking that match.
Yeah. So definitely take advantage of it. It is very beneficial. It's also a forced saving mechanism. So for most of human history, right? Because we grew up in a very, hostile world. Normally the stuff we have in our hands we will spend or we will use because our lifespans are very short. It's just how our brains evolve towards it. That's why we'll gorge on food or have a lot of sex because we know when we're next time going to have those opportunities again, right? That's why people get addicted towards those type of things like food, alcohol, stuff like that. We now live in the most abundant time in human history, right? So our brains haven't fully evolved because this happened so quickly for that. So for most people, you will spend all the money that is inside your hands if you don't save and invest it. That's just by default. So if we give MarKeisha $100,000 and I told her she chooses not to save it, she'll probably spend it all in a month if she can. This is how we are, right? It's not like a default bad thing on MarKeisha. She's just a human being. That's just how we are designed to do it. So saving and invest your money, especially inside of 401k, it makes it towards that your paycheck is lower. So you'll just spend or use that paycheck, right? You don't technically see them take the money out of your account. So you just assume you just have, instead of, if your paycheck by looking, you get $1,000 every other week, you invest a certain amount of it, it drops down to $800. You just spend what's inside your account instead of understanding you had $1,000, right? So it makes it easier. Like automating your system, which is what I do. So I automate all my systems. So my savings system is automated. I have a high yield savings account. So every month I put like $1,000 inside of it. My 401ks for all my accounts are automated as well. So I don't ever actually touch anything. It just does it automatically.
That's a really good piece of advice. I don't think I've paid a bill manually in probably 10 years at this point, having everything automated. But you've got to be able to follow these principles to do that too. We're going to get into emergency fund, and I know that I'm kind of jumping ahead, but having that emergency fund is critical to be able to automate that and realizing, oh snap, if I'm changing jobs, if I have to go 3 weeks without pay, I need to understand the system is still going to work. Because again, human nature, if we think about having to spend that money, if I had to actually think about how much I write to my bank for my mortgage every month, it'd be pretty depressing to actually physically hand that money out, right? Automate it all, and then to your point, the more that you can load into paycheck deductions, at a certain point after that, you settle into this, oh, well, this is my paycheck, this is how much I get paid. And sure, it might be less than what you're paid, on paper, but you also know that that top line is going off to help you in the future.
Yeah. Anything to add, MarKeisha?
No, I think you all, touched on it, and I think it's really important that, you think about systems, I guess, when it comes to money. And even if you do have things on auto pay, it is important as well. I'm not saying that you all are not doing this, but it is important to also, take a look at, monthly to see kind of where all that money's gone to make sure it's accurate, right? So for example, like Pepco, with the expenses being so high, right, for your electricity, I'm always checking that because I'm like, why do I have to spend $300 this month and then $100 that month? Like, I'm always trying to make sure it's accurate. Yes, it's very expensive here in the DMV.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, and I am in an apartment.
I believe it. I've seen power bills that high before. So, another thing I like to do to that point about power bills is some of your energy companies will allow you to pay an average over the year, and then what they'll do is they'll true up at the end of it. If you want to keep a consistent cash flow on it, implementing strategies like that help you kind of even that out and spread it. But to your point, you've got to measure it. And despite me saying that I have everything on autopilot and I don't pay bills, I also am looking at a spreadsheet right here on the other screen that shows every single cent that goes out of my account every single month, and I reconcile it every month just to make sure, first of all, the machine's still running, nothing gets missed, and that things don't get away from me. I think back to, this must have been 6-7 years ago. It was a service called Handy. It was house cleaning, right? And I had house cleaners that I had on a subscription to come in. Well, one morning I was in California and I got a text alert that my account had been frozen. And I looked, and that service had billed me $10,000 instead of the normal $150 to clean my house. So things can I got all that back, by the way. Things can get away from you. You got to keep an eye on it.
How big was your house, Paul? Was like a mansion up there?
No. We're talking 1,200 square. Okay. So what happened is it tried to bill that $150 over and over and over and over again. A billing cycle got stuck in there. And for all the times that you go to a new state and you go to get gas and your bank is like, call us about the fraud when you try to swipe gas, they didn't flag it after over $1,150 transactions on my account. It took them draining the account negative before they finally froze it. I'm like, this is what you call fraud protection?
Right.
That's crazy.
So yeah, keep an eye on it because weird stuff happens.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I can't pass the $300 electrical bill from MarKeisha. That's crazy. I can't get past that. That's crazy. I think I spent like an average like.
It's so annoying. Like.
I think the highest one I've had here during the summer was $370 or so, but that's like August.
I spent like $110 for my electric bill, but power's here cheap in Texas in general.
Everything is cheap.
Again, so we're at the 30-minute mark or so. So again, any questions you guys may have, please drop them inside the chat. If you're curious as to other things we spent money on or like what you should save and invest in, please drop those questions inside the chat and we'll get towards them as quickly as we can. So next up, for next three ones are going to be an emergency fund, a Roth IRA, a health savings account, and max out employer plans. So, oh no, we didn't cover high interest debt actually. My bad. So for high interest debt, this is like payday loan, which I hope no one here has. Credit card debt, auto loans normally, mortgages normally don't fall under those. So like credit card debt, payday loans, and like auto loans are probably the biggest high interest debt people have inside this country. I won't go on a rant about like auto loans. People have the weirdest stuff ever. I see people that drive like an $80,000 truck that just drive to get groceries at my apartment complex. Then they complain about the price of broccoli. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so for auto loan specifically, we love cars inside this country. We love cars, for Americans especially. I think that's the second thing people overspend on most inside this country. So what is it? Your car expenses should be, I think it's like total cost. That means insurance, that means maintenance, that means gas, right? Should be 10% of your gross monthly pay should be what your auto cost should be on average, right? So if you make $100,000 per year, I think your monthly cost should be like below $70 or something like that for everything included. For most people, just the car payments they make on average, I think, is almost over $1,000 now for most Americans, which I think is absolutely insane. So it's like really insane. So for me personally, when I bought my car, I used to drive like a crappy old Honda Civic back in college. It broke down all the time and the AC didn't work in Florida, which was god awful. So when I got my big boy job out of college, I saved up and I got like a used Honda Sonata. Power is not, I love it. I still have it. I think I paid, this was right before the car prices spiked during COVID. I think I paid like $16K for like a 2018 one, 2020, and had like 30,000 miles on it. I still have it. It runs great. I don't have any issues for it. So I love the car, and I put $8,000 down. I paid it off like in 12 months, and so I don't pay a car payment. I haven't paid a car payment in the past like 3 years for it. So all that extra money, I can do two things with it, which I do. One is I use extra money to put towards my investments, like my Roth IRA, or just like a mutual fund or index funds for like Charles Schwab's account I use. And then I also put money towards eventually buying a new car, because that car won't last forever, right? And so I treat that money as if it's still getting taken out of my account, because eventually one day, let's say 10 years, if I want to buy like a brand new Lexus or something, I can pay it off in cash, because I've been saving up for so long. Which is the goal for that. So, like, no, if you make $120,000, you can't afford a $90,000 car. You just can't. Just don't do it. So if you want to just get like a used car, get a used Honda, Toyota, and just drive it towards it explodes. It'll last you like 200,000 miles. So just like do it, it's easier. MarKeisha? What's so funny?
I just love talking about cars.
I know MarKeisha won't ever be caught dead in a Honda Civic, but for those of you that
Not
aren't
true.
her,
My first vehicle was, well, my second vehicle was a Honda Accord, but it was passed down from my mom. And then my first vehicle that was passed down from my aunt was like a Nissan Altima, I think. Yeah. Very old school. So no issues there. How I ended up in my luxury vehicles though was simply because I had gone to Mazda around, I think it was like 2015 or something. And the manager there told me that I could not afford a Mazda, which every time I tell this story, everybody's like, what? What do you mean? I guess he was just having a bad day. He told me I couldn't afford the vehicle, even though I could afford the vehicle, had great credit, and was putting down a decent amount of money. But I was desperate for a vehicle. Like that was the last day I could get a vehicle. I had to return my loaner because I had been in a car accident, and I ended up at Mercedes, bought a Mercedes, and then haven't looked back from luxury vehicles. But I do agree that you should definitely get what you can afford. And it is very important to get a vehicle that is going to last you a long time. If you do finance the vehicle, I do not finance my vehicles. I lease all of my vehicles because I write it off under my business. But definitely, if you are going to finance a vehicle, make sure you have solid finance terms, right? Like these 30% interest rates and people paying $800 a month for like a Honda. I'll just use the Honda as an example because I've seen this happening. That is insane, right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So you definitely want to be smart when it comes to your purchases, even outside of it being a vehicle. But riding a vehicle down until the wheels fall off, see nothing wrong with that.
you gotta get those 112 month terms for those loans. That's insane. Which is insane. It's like 12 years. I'm like, is that even legal?
Are you serious? 30% at 12 years? That's a real thing?
Yeah, there's some people.
Yes.
It's either that or they'll do like kind of like a micro loan, so they'll pay on a weekly basis and it looks cheaper. They won't calculate the monthly for it. So they'll spend like $250 for a week. Like, oh, well, I can afford that, but it's like $1,000 per month. They don't actually do the calculations.
And this is on like a Honda Accord.
Well, I gave the Honda Accord as an example, but I think somebody
Okay.
got like on a Dodge Charger. I had seen recently on Twitter. They were super happy for their new vehicle, and the terms were just horrendous. They were like $800 a month, and it was 30% interest. Yeah, interest.
For a Charger, okay?
Yeah. But
Wow.
that's how they're getting you nowadays. You know, this country wants to keep people in debt. So
Well, I know. I just, to Kenneth's point, my car's paid off. I haven't had a car loan in a decade. Last time I got a car loan, the interest rate was 5%.
right, everything has
Jesus.
come up at this point. It's now I'm looking for a house, and I mean, look at the rates. There used to be 2%, 3%.
Oh, we're not going to see that again in a minute. So that whenever I did have to refinance that house to get equity out, I got one of those 2% loans, and now I'm over here in a 7% and realizing how lucky I had it.
Oh my God.
I mean, 7%. I've seen much worse rates, so 7% still isn't terrible. But well, the market comes and goes in cycles, and the next down cycle, well, it's time for me to refi. So.
Right.
Then also as well, there's a bunch of different resources you can go to for look for good cars. So like, hey, which brands, which years, and which models are the best? Because some, even the good brands had bad model years, right? So you can check to see. But normally like Honda, Toyota, Mazda are pretty good across the board for most of their cars. You can just Google to see what model you want to get and then go from there. But y'all, please, I see all the time that in fact want to complaining. Kenneth, man, things are so expensive. I'm like, don't you drive an $80,000 car? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't get it. I really don't. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, you're hustling backwards.
I enjoyed your example of the $80,000 truck just to complain about the price of a head of broccoli.
They do.
I know you're not wrong. I just enjoyed the visual.
80 cents more? What? I'm not paying that much money for it.
And you spend 80 cents every time you start your damn truck. Well, priorities.
Yes, it all comes down to priorities.
Yeah. Second thing would be, then we'll go to emergency fund. Second thing would be credit card debt. For most people, I guess like most lower income people in general, I don't want to like put a label on anybody like that, but just in general, historically from how the country is set up, should not have a credit card, honestly, because they don't have the good financial habits of being able to pay off debt in time. So what will happen is something will happen. They'll put a bunch of money on their credit card, or they'll spend on a bunch of crap, and then they'll pay the minimum payments, and then the interest rate for some of the credit cards are like 30%, right? And so that is god awful. Or they'll have like 6 different credit cards for 6 different things. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, you know how much money's on this other credit card? They're like, oh, I didn't realize I had that, right? And so it's a lot to keep track of. So I personally just have one. I have a business card than one personal card.
That's it?
Yeah, I don't. I can get points. I travel a lot, but I'd rather keep it simple for myself, personally speaking. And I also use credit card for security purposes. If someone takes money out of my account, it's easier to get reimbursed through a credit card than through a debit card, which I found out.
Yeah.
My ex steal a bunch of money from me in the past. But yeah, I would say if you have bad financial habits, you probably shouldn't have a credit card, honestly, because it will cause you more harm than will do you good. From what I've seen from people I've talked to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One of the things my grandma taught me is never use a credit card if you cannot turn around and pay it off immediately. And that's one thing she always does. Like, she has her Macy's credit card. She'll buy something and then she'll turn around and say, okay, I now want to pay for it. And she pulls out the cash to pay for it. And they always look at her, the sales associates, like she's crazy because they're not used to that. But, she really instilled that in me, that I use my credit cards for everything. I do not use debit whatsoever, right? And so I will swipe, but I'm making sure that before my statement closes, I have paid off all or at least majority of it, so that the percentage utilization is low when it hits my credit. So that's just how I've always operated. But I was very young when I got my first credit card. I was about, I think, 17 when I got my first Navy Federal Platinum credit card. And I had a really high limit. I think they had started me off at $25,000. And I went crazy. Like, I went and spent that money because I was young. I knew nothing about money, but I knew that I finally had money, right? And the one great thing that kind of saved me was that I was always working regardless. So I was paying down. But when you start realizing how credit works, that's when you're like, okay, I can't just let the money sit there. And the interest rates at that time were lower than what they are now, but still any type of interest hitting on that money, it's costing you at the end of the day. So you do learn these things over time. Well, I hope you learn these things over time, but it is so important to understand the ins and outs of debt, because there's good debt and there's bad debt. And yeah, again, I always tell people, like, follow the wealthy people, right? Follow how they spend and what they advise on, and make sure you do your due diligence, right? Because just because they're wealthy doesn't mean that they're the know-it-alls, but you definitely want to make sure you spread out across 5 different wealthy people and just watch and listen to what they say.
So I do credit cards a little bit differently. I have maybe 12 credit cards at this point. And I carry a balance on absolutely none of them. I've got one card that maximizes my spend on electronics. I've got one that maximizes maximizes my points on travel, one that maximizes my spend on food, even one that maximizes points on concert tickets. And I put certain things on certain cards, but to your point, I pay it off every single month whenever it comes around. There's exactly one card that I will allow myself to treat like a credit card and carry a balance from time to time, but I still won't put something on that card unless I know I have the cash sitting in my emergency fund that I could execute on. But this is strategic, and I was not always that disciplined with that money. Back when I was 18, in college, I got a credit card. I quickly maxed it out and defaulted on it, and thankfully stuff rolls off your credit report after 7 years. So you can recover from things like that, but you've got to be able to have that discipline. Something the credit card companies won't tell you, read the fine print, you will not pay a cent in interest if you pay it off every single month. It's the moment it goes past that first day, whenever your bill was due through the internet. And high income, low income, high credit, low credit, it doesn't matter. My lowest credit card interest rate is 24%. Lowest interest rate is 24%. And I have an 840 credit score. So it affects everyone equally. You've got to be disciplined with it, but in return for taking the time to do that with those credit cards, I get probably $5 or $6 grand a year in perks, in points, in free flights. I just went to Vegas last weekend. I didn't pay a dime for my airfare or hotel because it was all on credit card points. But you got to be disciplined to pay that strategy. If you're not, go with the one or no credit card route. It's much safer.
No, I think I got my credit card after college. So I got it when I was like 23 years old. And I have it set up for most of my stuff. This is auto pay. So it auto pays at the end of the month. It pays up the entire balance no matter what. For it. I don't think I've ever bought like some expensive thing I bought. My credit card. I think like gaming equipment or like monitors for my office space has been the most expensive thing I bought on it. One time I've ever been flagged for anything was when I put my down payment on my car. My bank called me. They're like, "Hey, someone took $8,000 out your account." I'm like, "It's me." I promise.
Talking about the most expensive thing, I'm laughing here because I put a whole motorcycle on a credit card once. Not the down payment, the whole damn bike.
What was that, like 30K, 40K, 50K?
It was, let's see, it was a Ducati DFL. It was right at 25. Yeah.
Okay. Dude,
Again, different time in life.
Yeah. I think the highest I ever charged on a credit card was about 31K. And then I just turned around and paid it off because I had
Was that a single thing?
Yeah, that was a single thing. Okay. And I had the money sitting in my bank. So I got tons of points.
Yeah. Man, if they'd ever let you pay a mortgage on a credit card, that is the one thing that you can't get point. They want that bank account, right?
That would be game over for my life. That and a car payment. You can't pay your car on a credit card, right?
Oh, you're right. I just haven't had a car payment so long. Yeah, you're right. You can't.
Because it's got credit on credit.
Yep.
I don't know about that.
See, banks will let you do that with derivatives, or banks will do that with derivatives themselves. They just won't let you do it.
Exactly.
The last thing we'll talk about, and welcome to further questions, will be having an emergency fund. So having an emergency fund is different for everyone. Once you hit the other three other steps, so your deductible covered, your employer match, so it'd be 4, 6, 8%, depends what company you work for. You paid off your high interest debt, you should then have an emergency fund. The reason this is step number 4 is if you invest in the stock market, right, an S&P 500 or a mutual fund or index fund, the market on average will return around 10 to 11% on a historical basis for the past 100 years or so. And so if you have high interest debt, that's normally 20, 30%. So you'll be losing money if you invest in the stock market instead of paying off your high interest debt. Which is why they don't suggest towards you, if your interest is higher, normally like 8 to 9%, to just pay that off and then start investing. So it would actually make money over the long run. So for emergency fund, I think the average should be around 6 months of normal expenses. So what do I mean by that? Like your things you need in order to actually live. So your car payment, if you have one, food, rent, insurance, so you're able to actually survive. not ticket to Bora Bora or ticket to Fiji. That doesn't count, right? So your normal average expenses that you should have on a monthly basis. I have to tell people this, or don't listen to me. So I have saved up currently, because I'm a very cautious person just by nature. So that's why I had 2 years saved up just in case something happens towards me. But so if you have a really in-demand job like most of us have here on this call, you can be a little bit more lenient, like do 9 months. But if you lost your job and your field isn't as in demand, you might want to do more to 12 months of total like expensive saved up an emergency fund. Now keep this in mind. This may take you like a couple years to save this up to, which is perfectly fine. It's just, again, just be consistent, right? So just put, if all you can afford right now is to put like $5 per month towards that, then that's what you save towards that to get towards that amount. Yeah. So for me, like having my emergency fund is important to me because it gives me a lot of confidence. It also gives me more chances to take a risk. I know if something messes up or with my job, I have a cushion to fall back on. So I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I've been living paycheck to paycheck since the past like 5 years. So, MarKeisha, what about you?
Yeah, it's a really great feeling. Yeah, I mean, in terms of having the reserves there, that's so important. And I do agree with you that it is a wonderful feeling, very, very blessed to have money sitting aside for emergencies or just anything. In the back of my head, I'm like set at a certain number. So I feel like I can't go below that number or I start like freaking out. And I really have a fear of being broke. Like I've been there, right? Like I can't go back there again. So I'm just always making sure that I am not overspending, right? So yeah, and I agree with Kenneth. It takes time to get to that point, right? It takes years to save up. One of the things I seen, like the recent statistics that I had posted about, was the average like 30-year-old has less than, I think it was 5,000 or just 3,000 saved up as an emergency.
Oh, it's less than that. I think it's like $1,000.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that's horrible, right? You really have to find ways to make more money so that you can save, right? And we talked about the whole retirement thing earlier on, but your goal is not to work the rest of your life. You have to be working to be saving so that you can retire and really live that free life where you don't have to answer to anybody. You can wake up when you want to. And if you want to work, that's a choice. It's not something that you need to do for survival. So, having such low reserves in your accounts or just anywhere on you for that amount, you definitely have to find ways to make additional income.
Let me check to see what percentage of Americans can't cover $1,000 emergency.
The website you posted said 60% can't cover $1,000 emergency. That's the
there you go.
The financial order of operation. That's on the website you shared, man. Yeah, 60% can't cover 1,000. Like MarKeisha, I have a floor in my emergency savings, and if I go below that, I start to get very, very anxious. And that floor is not low; it's about 6 months worth of living expenses. Kenneth, to your point, that's not accounting for trips to Fiji. I think that's what you said. It's absolute bare minimum what I would need to live, what I need to eat on the month, what I would need to pay for. I don't consider Netflix or HBO Max or any of the streaming in any of that. So it's cutting out luxuries. Like this is, all right, game time. I've got to survive for the next 6 months. What's the bare minimum I can make it on type stuff. And that tends to be my emergency fund. But it does give you a degree of freedom. I've talked a bit about my car on here. My car is currently not drivable right now because my clutch went out yesterday, literally yesterday. If I didn't have any money in savings, that would set me back a lot of money on that car, and I would probably be down a car for months if I didn't have something in savings. So I can have that peace of mind because I have that emergency savings right now. It's okay, fine. I'll take it to the shop, and as soon as they answered my damn phone call, I'll get it in there and get it scheduled and be back on it. But I'm looking at this statistic, and it just secondhand fear of this. I cannot imagine being in a situation where I cannot afford $1,000. 10 years ago, $1,000 was a lot. Nowadays, that's one car crash, right? Nowadays, that's one broken window in your house, depending on the window, I guess. The threshold to spend $1,000 has become so low. I couldn't imagine what that's living like. And if you think back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not to wax psychological for a moment, there is some truth to this. You've got the safety, security, the love and belongings, whatnot. You can't reach your true potential if you're constantly fighting for your own life.
Yeah. I mean, that's really bad. If you can't afford $1,000, I mean, a car accident, someone gets sick, you get an accident, right? Your kid gets sick, something happens, your dog gets sick. Right. You can't afford that. That makes your life a lot harder. That means you can't take as many risks as you would like to. So if there's a job out of state that you have to pay moving costs for, you can't take that job, right? So you have to be stuck in a crappier job, right? And as you're saying, MarKeisha, you should focus on making more money. You'll get towards a point where that if you still feel poor, you're making $500,000 a year, you're probably spending too much in general. Making more money probably won't fix it, honestly. If you're making like $30,000 a year, you probably need to make more money just in general, because it's very hard to cut out anything if you're making that little money, right? So keep that in mind, right? So for anyone here that's like a multimillionaire and you spend $2 million a year, make more money probably won't solve more of your problems, honestly. I can be very real with you.
There's a point of diminishing returns, yes. Yeah. But it's not also about working for you. I want to notice a key difference. You didn't say work for more money. You said make more money. Make more money. The goal should be to then diversify your income stream and be able to make more from passive income, make more from investments, such that, to your point, MarKeisha, about not working forever, the more that you can, and Kenneth, we talked about automating our expenses, automate our bill pay. The more you can automate the other side of that equation, the income side of it, the more freedom you truly have.
Yeah, so if you invest, which everyone here should, for the most part, once you hit these levels for the FOO, on average, every 7 years, your money will double if you put it at the stock market, right? So the earlier you start off with, the better you'll be over a long run. There's like a bunch of videos that someone saves like $10,000, someone saves $50,000 between like 25 and 35, and someone saves like $500,000 between like 35 and 65. The guy that started 10 years earlier have more money than the guy that started 10 years later. Even the guy that started 10 years later have saved 10 times more money than him. Like compound interest really is a thing, right? So the earlier you start saving and investing, the better off you'll be in the long run. So the thing is, you can't save your way to be wealthy. You have to invest it. So if you start off when you're in your early teens or in your early 20s, you can have like an average job, and you'll probably be pretty wealthy by the time you retire, honestly. Compared to if you start when you're 35, even if you're a baller, you're going to have to save and invest a lot of money and make that happen.
But the important thing is to start. You're absolutely right. If you start 10 years earlier, you're going to be 5 to 6 times wealthier. But don't let that hold you back. If you didn't start earlier, guess what? That ship sailed. Start now.
Are there any questions at all to the chat? I know, we'll probably do a separate episode in this because I have to cover the second half of this for everyone else. Sure. So are there any questions at all for me, MarKeisha, and Paul about anything we covered so far? Please don't be shy. I know money in America is a hard topic to talk about, which is why I think a lot of us are kind of broke.
Emphasis. In America.
Yeah. It isn't as much in other countries I've seen.
Maybe this is just a lot to chew on, and we'll get some more engagement on round 2. It is a lot to chew on, but it's certainly worth the time.
Yeah.
It's always a reality for a lot of people. People don't want to talk about money because I think to some people it's a reality that maybe they've been overspending, or maybe they're not where they should be, or maybe they're just one paycheck away from being broke, and like Paul said, it's a lot to chew on. But it is so important that even today, if you're coming here and you're just listening and you're like, that's me, like I'm not where I need to be, like you can start today to start getting to where you need to be. So like open up books, read books. There's some great books out there. You can even watch YouTube. I love YouTube University. It even, like, I love when I watch the illustrations on YouTube. Like I really get into them because the illustrations are super helpful when it breaks down like money and just everything. But you can start educating yourself today, and don't think that you are behind. And there's just a lot to learn. But as we always say, please do your due diligence, right? We are not financial advisors here. We are talking about our own personal experiences.
Yes.
And please don't think that this comes from privilege. And I want to clear with that. Don't think that, it's easy for y'all to talk. Y'all have your stuff together. No, we haven't always. And, sometimes it's easy to look at someone and think they have their stuff together when they really don't. Me personally, Kenneth, you mentioned the payday loan trap. I was in the payday loan trap for a year and a half, where every single time I was out over it. Yeah, I've been in the payday loan trap. I didn't come from money. I was born in a village of 300 people. And here's the kicker. I have been $1 million in debt at a certain point because of the mistakes that I've made. So it's not, it's so easy for these people to talk. They have their stuff together. That's why we're having the conversation. We've made the mistakes. I know money's an uncomfortable topic, but unless we bring it up, unless we talk about it, unless we can connect and say, yeah, this is a real thing that we all struggle with, we're not going to learn anything.
It took me, the only reason I learned so quickly was because of COVID. I couldn't go anywhere. So I just then watch YouTube videos on finance. That's kind of how I learned.
It's better to. It's not a subject they teach in school, man. I don't remember checkbook balancing 101 or investing 101 in high school. I guess those are college levels, but whatever. I don't remember it even in college, for what it's worth, unless you are an accounting major. So
I learned finance and accounting because I was a business major and an engineering major, but they didn't teach from a personal perspective. Taught more from a business lens. So everything I learned by myself. Like no one taught me at all.
Yeah, you learn how to do cost of goods sold before you learn how to file your 1040.
Yeah, it is very true. So there are a lot of different channels. I can post them inside of the chat, or I can post them on LinkedIn as well. For people that I follow that I think are pretty good, because there are a lot of people that are kind of just scammers or grifters and they don't have your best interest at heart. So like Ramit Sethi is a really good one. Like the Plain Bagel is a really good one. Money Guys is a really good one. A lot of them are like fiduciary, so they have to give good financial advice, or else they lose their licenses to practice finance. So check out for those ones, for like actual proper financial advice, like what to do, like what to save and invest. I would say financial advice is actually boil it down pretty simple, right? Like spend less than what you make. Save and invest the difference. Like really, that's basically all you should really do, right? But there's different nuances and layers. Because we are human beings, we're complex creatures. We're not robots, right? So like the psychological aspect of it makes it much more complicated than it needs to be, all right?
And if you do choose to spend money on financial advice, just kind of a really quick way to weed out a lot of grifters is if someone is charging you a commission, they're probably trying to rob you. Look for people who charge fee-based. Look for people whose services are flat fees, where you can invest in a class. Now, when I say commission, and buying a class is not necessarily a commission, right? But if you have people who are going to help you invest and they're going to take a commission, they have a self-interest in it. Just pay it. I'm not going to say all commission-based are grifters, and I'm not going to say all fee-based are not. But it is something to pay attention to.
There is a question. Will we have another one of these chats in the future? Yes, there will be a part 2, and then pay off mortgage or invest your money.
So it depends.
Depends on your interest rate.
Yeah, it depends on what your mortgage rate is. Normally, Ramit Sethi, I'll drop the video eventually for LinkedIn. Ramit Sethi covers it, right? Normally, if your mortgage rate is like 2 to 3%, just invest the rest, because you'll make up the difference if you just invest it compared to paying off your mortgage. If your mortgage rate's like 6 to 7%, you can like split the baby, like spend half of it for your mortgage and put the rest towards investments. It just depends.
It's a function of interest rate. It's worth keeping in mind that if you pay, even if you start paying like say $100, $200 a month more per for your mortgage payment, that translates to a huge saving at the end of it, because any dollar that you put toward paying off your mortgage early goes directly to your principal. Now, we're probably getting into a whole separate lesson on that when you talk about principal and interest and amortization and whatnot. But it's simply a function of risk versus reward. If you're going to get more money back by investing it, invest it.
Yeah, but it just depends on the situation. You know, I don't own a house, so take everything else with a grain of salt. I know skin in the game.
Are you going to be looking for a house soon, Kenneth?
I need a girlfriend first. I want a wife before I actually move in.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if she wants to move somewhere else, I don't want to sell the house. So.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I can track with that. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can track with it.
Okay. It depends, right? If I find somewhere that I love, I do love living Long Clean. It's a very nice place, very clean. People are very business oriented, which is what I am. I enjoy like going outside and talking to different people. But I love currently. So like, yeah, I think I told you this, Paul. So like the COO, or no, the chief of staff for Crunchyroll lives in my apartment complex.
Yep, you've told me.
Yeah, I met him downstairs, which is like really crazy. I've lived in a very very nice apartment complex. Everyone here is pretty wealthy, honestly. So it's really cool to just meet with them, speak with them.
I'm still surprised Texans know what the hell anime is in the first place.
I mean, their office is like 2 miles away from where I live. It's very nice.
For what it's worth, I grew up in Louisiana, so I can take jabs at Texas.
Okay. I grew up in the swamps of Florida, so. But are there any last-minute questions for me, MarKeisha, or Paul? I know it is a lot to take in. No one's ever taught you this, or we never talked about this, so that is okay. We're gonna have another session, probably want to say in May. I know we're all doing another session for like me, you, and Gladys in April, once we come back from DC. So again, if no further questions, that is fine. That is perfectly okay. Connect with us all on LinkedIn. We're all there. Any questions you may have, you can ask me, MarKeisha, especially MarKeisha on Twitter. She's much more open about that on that platform compared to LinkedIn, what I've seen. So don't be shy. But otherwise, I'll end this session and then I'll talk to you guys next time.